how we interact with the world is mostly based on what we see on the screen.
Different love, kumbaga kasi 'di ba, usually heterosexual love yung pinapakita in media, but now medyo mas nagkakaroon na ng equal representation.
We find inspiration in the things that we do in everyday life.
Hi guys! Welcome to your one and only top priority and favorite podcast, ang PODKASERYE, Culture, Com, and Context. This is Relationships, ang podcast episode kung saan lahat ng hugot, lahat ng kilig, and lahat ng complications sa relationships ay ine-expose natin through the lens of movies and TV shows.
Yes naman, I am Michael.
And I am Rafa, and kami, ang tropang makikinig, mag-a-analyze, and minsan, mag-overthink para sa inyo.
Today's episode is very exciting kasi hindi lang natin pag-uusapan yung mga Pinoy rom-coms, teleserye love triangles, or pa-fall tropes, diba? We're diving into the world of global media love stories.
Alam mo, tama ka dyan. Tatalakayin natin kung paano pinapakita ang relationships, romantic man, or otherwise sa other cultures through their movies and shows.
Kasama natin today ang isang guest who can offer a very different cultural perspective. Super excited kami kasi this conversation isn't just about comparing. It's also about understanding their own views of love and connection influenced by what we watch.
So if you're into movies, into love stories, or just curious how people from different parts of the world view relationships, this one's for you.
Now, before we dive in, let's welcome our guest. Hi, Moses. Could you please introduce us or introduce yourself to our listeners?
All right, so hi everyone, my name is Moses. I come from the United States. My state is California, my city is Los Angeles. And well, as someone who watches a lot of media, I think that this is going to be a really good conversation for us all to have. And I'm actually excited to get this started.
Alam mo, it's very visible na lumaki siya sa ibang culture no? So, ayun na nga, nakikita man natin na we all grew up watching different kinds of shows and movies coming him from America and tayo naman galing lang dito sa Pinas. Ayun, so some of them shape how we see love, some made us believe in forever maybe, and some baka heartbreak lang.
Grabe ka naman. But all jokes aside, media really reflects our culture. Kaya sobrang interesting makita kung ano ba yung tumatak sa'yo as someone from a different country and culture.
So, ready ka na ba, Moses?
Sure.
So, ayan. So, let's jump into our first question. So, what are the movies or TV shows that you've watched sa culture mo? It can be something nostalgic, iconic, or kahit guilty pleasure mo lang.
Well, marami naman ako napanood in general. It ranges from rom-coms to historical flicks to things that were made in the 1950s up to like present. So yung mga answers ko pwede yan mag-range from classics like Casablanca all the way to something like Anyone But You. So maraming iba't ibang shows and TV and movies ako na napanood, and makikita mo yung change over time sa perception ng relationships, how it's portrayed, and yeah.
I see. And I can see na super big deal sa inyo yung mga ganyang palabas. Well, now we're gonna ask you naman yung sa part ng childhood or youth culture nyo. Like, what are the things that you watched then?
Back in my childhood.
Yeah.
Well, as a kid, I mostly watched cartoons. Sa totoo lang. Mostly Cartoon Network shows, Disney Channel. Marami akong masasabi in terms of that. Pero if we're gonna talk about like relationships and whatnot, it's very stereotypical yung portrayal ng relationships sa mga cartoons. Kasi of course, you have to simplify it for the kids. Like, in a way na may bibigay ka na ideal sa kanila. Disney is a great example of this, lalo na sa mga movies na pinapalabas nila from the 1930s up to the present when it comes to relationships and how they go. Pero ngayon, I would say na it's less idealistic than before. Like, mas may sense of realism na yung kids media these days. And na-observe ko rin yun while I was growing up kasi mostly yung napanood ko yung mga movies ng Disney from the 90s tulad ng Aladdin, The Lion King, And yung mga picture movies tulad ng Finding Nemo, etc.
Yeah, right. Tapos minsan di natin namamalayan na nag-resonate na rin sa atin kung paano ba nila sinushow yung pagmamahal through those shows, di ba? So thank you, Moses, for sharing what you thought of our question kanina.
Kaya mo na ba dumiretso sa second question?
Why not?
Ayan. So, for our second question, how are romantic relationships typically portrayed in these shows or films?
It depends on the theme of the movie. Kung gusto niya ba maging romantic comedy, kung gusto ba niya maging something a bit more serious, depressing, or something more gritty, or kung something as simplistic as an action movie. Magkakaiba yung mga tropes kasi na pinapakita ng movies when it comes to how relationships are portrayed. Sa mga non-serious movies like action movies, rom-coms, it comes as easy, mga relationships. Love comes easy because people are happy, people are cool, lighthearted, etc. So, sa mga yan, if you just want to turn your brain off, laugh, or maybe gusto mo lang talaga na manood ng action series or something, these are the kinds of media that you would go for just to not really think about it. Pero kung usapang emotional talaga, like mga heavier na dramas or basta yun, I'd say na it depends din kasi on whether or not it's a show or a film. Kasi a film only has a limited amount of time to properly explore a relationship, whereas shows, they can give several seasons to exploring one certain relationship or several, and makikita mo doon yung parang difference of maturity based solely on the theme of the movie itself first and how it's portrayed by the cast.
I'd also like to ask then yung regarding sa tropes ng relationships kasi dito sa Philippines, 'di ba? Sobrang
Puro mga kabit.
common ng mga yan, yung mga kabit-kabit or yung mayaman to mahirap trope. Tapos yung may mga mag-iiyakan sa kulat, tapos may kontrabida, ganyan. Sa inyo ba, from your culture, ano yung mga typical na tropes na parang very repetitive in a sense yun, as compared dun sa aming nakakadisnan here in the Philippines?
I'd say it's mostly the same, sa totoo lang. Kasi American media happens to be the pioneers of of movie making, show making. So, yung mga tropes na kinopy ng Pilipinas from the States, it's the same, pero yung dito kasi sa Philippines, medyo, I will have to say, medyo overdone siya. Like,
Yes, very much.
yes. Umabot na sa point na corny talaga. Pero like sa US, I guess if I had to pick a few na common tropes talaga, enemies to lovers is a big one.
Yeah, right. I can see it.
Meron din yung yung alam mo yung concept ng meet cute. It's this
Yes.
but, so like you just randomly encounter someone at a bookstore or a cafe, tapos mag-uusap kayo and like somehow that develops into a relationship. That sort of thing. Mga essentially smaller moments or funnier moments yung mas nakikita mo sa mga tropes ng sa US-based movies. And natural talaga yung dating ng script writing sa mga movies nito more so than what I can compare dito sa Philippines, honestly.
Alam mo, ang cute nun, no? Kasi sa America, as you can see, sinabi niya na very natural yung dating. Whereas dito, alam mo yun, medyo scripted na talaga kasi puro na lang kabit, puro na lang ganon, puro na lang mayaman yung isa, mahirap yung isa. Alam mo yun? Pero as you can see, iba-iba talaga yung types na dito sa Philippines, puro ganon. Sa kanila, alam mo yun, it's less scripted, it's natural.
Actually, if I can add a bit, yung trope naman ng kabit, that's not as common talaga sa US. Like, kung may kabit man, it's something serious. It's not something na lighthearted. Usapang divorce na yan kung may kabit. So like, infidelity is not something that is often seen in American media. However, when it is shown, it's definitely something na hindi lang siya for the sake of laughs or it's a serious conversation about like faith in a relationship.
Alam mo yun, sobrang tama nun no, Michael?
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Moses. Ang dami naming napulot from that.
And alam mo, Moses, alam nyo, we're just getting started. Sa susunod na part, we'll dive into the gender roles and kung paano nagbabago yung views and pananaw natin sa relationships when we see how other cultures portray them.
Kaya stay tuned mga ka-relationships. Marami pa tayong machichika mamaya and baka makarelate ka din. Kaya see you later!
And now we're back. Alam mo, partner, pupunta naman na tayo dun sa mas juicier na part. So, ano Moses, ready ka na ba for this?
Sure.
Ayan, so pupunta naman na tayo sa gender roles na pinapakita sa mga TV shows and films.
Ay, gusto ko yan, partner. Kaya naman, for the fifth question, how do gender roles play out in the relationships shown in movies or shows from your culture?
Well, this one heavily depends on when it was made. Kasi mas conservative and traditional yung movies from the 1950s, 60s, 70s. So, mas makikita mo yung parang traditional structure of chivalry and how the guy is always supposed to provide for the girl, the guy has to do everything for the girl, ganon. And mas pinopromote niya talaga yung idea ng girls to just let a man take charge and things like that. Whereas today, in the 21st century, we can see that mas may pantayan na talaga yung gender roles. If anything, ginagawa ng comedy kapag mas aggressive yung babae than the guy. So like, ayun, parang ngayon, it's like you defend each other, you have each other's backs, you support one another through thick and thin, everything. And ayun, I think that's basically what the gender roles have evolved into throughout the last few decades of film.
Curious lang din ako, syempre, since nandito na tayo sa 21st century, sa mga shows ba sa culture mo, marami na rin ba yung nagpo-portray ng LGBTQIA+?
Oh, definitely. Ever since like the mid-2010s, nung na-legalize yung gay marriage sa US, nagkaroon ng explosion talaga sa number of shows that portray LGBTQ relationships. Even with serious shows, they'll sometimes give the surprise portrayal na, oh, bisexual pala yung kontrabida, na you wouldn't be expecting it talaga dahil your masculine energy or tapos parang it's more like they're sending the message na the sexuality itself doesn't matter as long as a person is the person that they portray to be. So yeah, I'd say there are a lot, especially nowadays, especially in the 2020s where gay pride and acceptance is everywhere now.
Ayun nga, since times are changing and mas naging open na tayo to acceptance sa different love, kumbaga, kasi 'di ba usually heterosexual love yung pinapakita in media, but now medyo mas nagkakaroon na ng equal representation.
Yeah, at alam mo, tama ka dyan. And sa totoo lang, that leads to our last question eh. So, do you think movies and shows influence how people act sa mga relationships nila in real life?
Yes, definitely. Kasi ito rin yung benchmark natin beyond just what we see from our parents and relatives. So, how we interact with the world is mostly based on what we see on the screen. And that goes for everything from movies to shows to even TikTok videos and Instagram reels.
Sa totoo lang, since 'di ba kanina from the cartoons na napanood mo nung bata ka, tapos nag-jump tayo sa mga napapanood niyo na ang setting is 1950s pa, ganyan. Tapos ngayon naman na we're going sa path ng contemporary world no. So ang ganda ng insights na nakikita natin yung differences between, bukod sa culture, syempre yung time, di ba? Kung papipiliin ka, anong mas preferred mo? Yung TV shows sa Amerika or yung TV shows dito or TV shows and films?
Sa US.
US?
Yeah. It's mostly because, dito sa Philippines, ang unrealistic talaga for me yung portrayal ng relationships. It's actually, it's weird to me in a way kasi parang sobrang naha-hype up yung kilig, whereas most relationships don't actually have that 24/7. The important thing in a relationship is security in each other, not just the feelings of happiness that you get from it.
I feel like a lot of the Filipinos din naman would have the same sentiments as him na we look then for media to watch from other countries kung paano nila pinaportray yung love, like let's say hindi nga lang sa American like even Korean, Thai.
Actually, on that note, I'd like to add din na may hyperfixation talaga yung Filipino popular media sa romance. Whereas in the States, yes, it's something na pinapakita from time to time, pero it's not something na parang kahit sa reality TV pinagtitripan yung romance. And like, parang, for me kasi, parang, yung driving conversation talaga in Philippine media is always chismis about relationships. Whereas in America, while we do have chismis about that then, the gossip itself isn't the only sole part of the discussions and in entertainment.
Alam mo, ang ganda talaga ng mga naging insights for our episode ngayon. And ayun, as much as we want to extend this, we now want to thank Moses for his guesting today. And it's been a fun and meaningful convo so far.
That's a wrap mga ka-relationships. What a ride from gender roles to how media shapes our love lives. Napakadami natin na pag-usapan today, right?
Alam mo, totoo ka dyan, partner. Makikita talaga natin dito yung theory ni Hofstede about sa individualism and power distance. Kasi sa totoo lang, sa ibang culture, na-highlight yung independence and yung freedom nila when it comes to relationships. While sa other cultures naman, na-highlight yung hierarchy tsaka yung expectations.
Yeah, oo. And napag-usapan din with our guest from a different culture, no? Napansin din kung paano nag-work yung Hall's context model, kung saan nag-play out yung mga iba't ibang kultura. Some are very direct and some are very, read in between the lines ang dating.
Alam mo, dagdag na rin natin dyan yung face negotiation theory ni Ting Tumik. Like, dito nabibigyang halaga yung kung paano napapakita ng bawat kultura yung pagpapanatili nila ng sarili nilang image at yung image ng iba when it comes to building connections. Kasi alam mo, malaking factor talaga siya kung paano sila nagbe-build or nagko-connect sa mga face concerns and interactions sila.
Exactly, partner. And kahit gaano kaiba yung culture natin, we all still crave for the same connection, respect, and love.
Alam mo, tama ka dyan, partner. And ayun, once again, this has been Relationships, ang podcast episode kung saan lahat ng hugot, lahat ng kilig, at lahat ng komplikado sa relationships ay binubusisi natin through the lens of movies and TV shows. I'm your host, Rafa.
I'm your host, Michael. Catch you in the next episode of PODKASERYE. Bye!